I do work for the arts organizations throughout the Treasure Valley in Boise, Idaho, and they rely on people like me to come up to the Hill and talk to the policymakers, like Congressman Simpson, who is in charge of the appropriations for the House Interior Subcommittee. And so it's important for the people that I work for and the community that I serve that I come here and make sure that the folks in Congress are aware of how important that funding is and how much it impacts the communities that we live in Idaho. Federal funding in Boise, specifically in Idaho as a whole, has been really critical to making sure that the arts remain a vibrant part of our lives. And in particular, making sure that they have the money, especially since COVID, to continue to function and create incredible programming that really meets people where they are and helps people to talk about hard issues that affect all of us on a day-to-day basis. But the arts make it so that it gives us a safe place to talk about and sort of contemplate the difficult things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And so that federal money that comes in helps us to have conversations, helps us to have civic engagement throughout the Boise area and throughout Idaho. And in particular in Idaho, we have a lot of rural communities that really depend on that federal funding, again, to make sure that they're civically engaged and that they're making sure that our communities continue to function in a vibrant, healthy way. We have one organization called Global Lounge that operates out of Boise, Idaho, and Boise is a refugee resettlement community. And we have been since the 1970s. So we have a really rich tapestry of people in our community that have settled there since the 1970s and have helped our community to become really vibrant and interesting and bring different cultures. And so Global Lounge just received a National Endowment for the Arts grant that will help them continue to build capacity to represent all these communities. Really incredible cultures that have come to Boise from the Bosnian Serbian War, from the Southeast Asian conflicts that happened in the 1970s, and all the way up till today when we have African violence that people are fleeing from. Boise has been the recipient of and the welcoming community for all of these people. And Global Lounge is an organization that helps those cultures continue the artistic forms that they come from, and to help Boise become really interesting in the sense that we have, all these different cultures to draw from. And so Global Lounge is a great example of benefiting our whole community, both rural and urban, with helping these, cultural populations continue their art forms. So that's one great example of how the NEA has helped us. Congressman Mike Simpson is an incredible advocate for the arts. He has been in Congress since the late 1990s, and now he's the chair of the subcommittee for Interior Appropriations. And he comes from one of our rural parts of Idaho, and what's great about the rural parts of Idaho, and the West really, is that there are these folk art forms that have existed for a long, long time. So whether it's saddle making or ukulele playing, lots of different fiddle. We've got a great fiddle festival in a rural part of Idaho. And he has just been incredibly supportive of those art forms that may frankly not survive if it weren't for the kind of advocacy that the congressman does for the state of Idaho and for the artists there. So when we think about art in Idaho, it's certainly not just fine art, right? Congressman Simpson himself is a beautiful painter, but it's also these incredible folk art forms that need support from modern communities to survive. And so he's been an incredible advocate for us for our rural communities and the people in those places whose art forms could, disappear if it weren't for people like him that advocate for it. STEM without STEAM is not very valuable in my mind. So Boise is actually the recipient of CHIPS money. So we have a homegrown company called Micron Corporation that manufactures chips and microchips for a variety of different things. And we actually, in the city of Boise, were lucky enough that Micron kind of doubled down on Boise, Idaho, and has decided to build a new fabrication plant in the city of Boise. And so we're thrilled because that's going to be bringing all these people into the community that are going to be spending money on the arts and on housing and all these things. But the best scientists have an arts background too. Learning music, learning how to paint, how to draw, all those things basically connect different synapses in our minds and make scientists into better scientists. It helps them also to communicate with each other and to translate very difficult scientific concepts to regular average people who maybe don't have a science background. So having the arts in a STEM field is one of the most important things we can do. I mean, Bill Gates even says that. And so, you know, I think that it's really critical for Boise, Idaho, and Idaho generally, that's getting this really incredible information age economic boost from the CHIPS Act, that as we bring those people in to work in those places, that they actually come from somewhat of an arts background as well, so that they can have those synapses and they can communicate with the community about how important their work is.